Now that we're going into the last month of Q4 and that Black Friday and Cyber Monday is finally over, I want to show you what we've learned and what we've seen inside the ad accounts and inside the Shopify stores of our clients so that you can learn from it and apply it to your strategy next year. It will be 5 tips, and of course stick around to the last one because that one is pretty important and it's like a secret little hack that we use for every single client of ours. And just to give you some context, we've done around 150K last month for one of our clients, and for another one we did around 56K in Black Friday alone. So I'm pretty sure that I know what I'm talking about, and I just want to show you as well so you can apply the best practices next year and crush it. And of course, if you're new here, my name is Vincent and I started running ads around 2016, where I helped an e-commerce store scale from 55K a month to 150K a month on a consistent basis with Google ads and Facebook ads. And ever since then, I started my agency Chipper, where I help e-commerce clients as well as local businesses with our identity hooking system all over the world while managing a 7-figure ad spend. So here are 5 things that I want to highlight that can make or break your Black Friday, and the things that I need you to consider before starting Black Friday and starting to plan Black Friday next year as well. The first one is stock. It's always a hard one to predict basically, because do you buy a lot of stock and risk of not selling out on Black Friday, or do you buy a little stock and risk out on losing money and not sell out during Black Friday? That's a pretty hard one to see as well, because costs will be involved as well. If you buy a lot of stock and you don't sell out, then you've spent a lot of money on products that are basically not selling out. And to be fair, almost every single business owner that I've met actually prefer the second scenario, so buying a little stock and risk out on basically losing a bit of revenue, because that way you've sold out, you hit your target, and it's basically the best scenario possible, since you get all your money instead of paying a lot of money and just sit on stock that is not getting sold out. With that scenario, if you buy a lot of stock, you maybe set yourself back 50 or 100K, and it's just sitting there in warehouses or 3PLs where you have to pay a lot of money just to keep the stock. So the best way to do it is always buy a little bit less stock, or just calculate it properly as well. And basically how we usually approach this is by looking at the data from last year. If they've done multiple Black Fridays, of course, if it's a new Black Friday for you, or you're just running a new store, it's always going to be a bit harder. But basically based on the data, we can predict on how much they've spent the last couple of years, how much units they've actually sold. And based on that, we actually make a whole plan, pick a multiplier to get more stock and spend more budget to, reach the target that we've set this year. So for example, a client of ours, he usually used to bump up units by 50 units every single drop. So for example, if you're a clothing brand, the first drop can be 50 units, then the second one can be 100, then a third, and maybe after a year, you've basically done a unit drop of around 3,500. Now, with that being said, this year we actually had a client that sold out their best-selling product in mid-November. Of course, that's not a good thing to happen, and it's a basically huge bummer, since there is so much more potential revenue and profit that you're basically leaving on the table. Now, basically when this happens, the best thing to do is switch over to a pre-order on the website instead of an actual sale. That way you communicate to the client that it's a pre-order, that they pay up now, and then when stock comes in, they get the product the first time. Of course, it's always good to communicate this, because then the client knowingly buys a pre-order, and that way they're not able to complain about where's my product, when will the product be arrived, if you communicate it properly. So on the website, you can state that it's a pre-order, but then also that the product will arrive maybe a month or 2 months later. That way the customers know that they're buying it as a pre-order, and that they know that it will arrive around December, November, or even January. Funny enough, this actually happened to a friend of mine. They ran out of stock and switched over to a pre-order, and the results were actually pretty amazing, because they started to sell more when the pre-order was on there instead of when it wasn't. And in that case, you already have a lot of money in the bank to buy the stock at your usual margins, and that way you can buy a bit more stock. So after Black Friday, that once you ship out all the the products you still have stock available after Black Friday, and you can just keep on selling more products. And then the second thing is the budget. I think this one will be the most important one actually, besides stock, of course, because that you can always switch over to a pre-order. Basically, you need to know your numbers like really well. Not only during Black Friday, but just in general, you need to know the cost of goods per unit, on how much a product costs to produce it or buy it, the average shipping per unit. So if you have a manufacturer in China, how much does it cost per unit to get it from China to the US? And also the shipping to the client, if you paid, for example, the free shipping, how much that will be. Look at the average, because normally within the distances, and if it's ground or if it's via air. But what we usually do is actually look at the average and round it upwards, right? So for example, if your shipping is actually around $12.50 or 56 cents, we usually round it up towards the $13 or $14, because that way you already have a buffer calculated in for extreme outliers where the customer pays $30 for shipping and you actually end up paying it. And that way it flattens out the curve to people that spend less on shipping, basically. This is not only crucial to calculate your break-even ROAS, but also that you know how much money you can spend on acquiring a new customer, which we call basically the CAC. And that way you have the numbers, you know what results you need to hit, how much you can spend to acquire a new customer, but also you can calculate a budget that you can spend during the Black Friday period. So for example, if your cost per acquisition is around $35 during Black Friday and you want to sell around 10,000 units of your products, then you know that you need to spend around 350K during the Black Friday weekend alone. My tip to you as well is just to calculate an extra buffer on top of that, so around 20 to 50% on top of that, because when performance is good, you can actually surf-side scale, so put budget and increase budget more during Black Friday, and look how the performance goes. If performance is really up there, it's crushing, you just put more money behind it every 4 to 6 hours, depending on how fast everything goes. You can bump it up by 20% or even 50%. The third thing is the fluctuation of performance during Black Friday. As you can see on the screenshot, we've seen with multiple clients that in the morning the performance starts off pretty slow and it picks up around 8 to 9 a.m. Then it drops again until 11 to 12 p.m. and then it starts to pick up again around 3 to 4 p.m. It drops again, and then around 8, 9 p.m. it just picks up again until midnight. The reason is that it's still Friday, people still have to go to work, and a lot of times, for example, this year before Black Friday, it was Thanksgiving, so people are, in a food coma. They're waking up a bit later, they have to go to work, so they don't really have the time to look at the Black Friday deals. They of course know that it's Black Friday, so they'll be scrolling. But then the ads, if they start seeing ads, it's mainly on their way to work, during their lunch break, during coffee break, as well as at night when they start to fall asleep. And then with the periods of the Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend, we usually see that it's Friday, that's a big day, then Saturday is like a bit less, Sunday is even way worse, slower, and then on Monday it picks up again because it's Cyber Monday. And then usually the day after, on Tuesday, it picks up again as well. So really take the whole weekend. I would start off on Thursday until like Tuesday, because people on Thursday will start to look for Black Friday deals. Friday, it's Black Friday. Saturday, they're a bit of a purchasing hangover feeling. Sunday, it starts to pick up again, and then Monday and Tuesday just like crushes again. So that's my tip timeline wise. And this also comes into play in the fourth thing that we've learned, is basically the question on when to start Black Friday. Now, this actually all depends on what your business relies on, right? Does the business mainly rely on new customers, old customers, or even VIP customers, right? So for one of our clients in the golf niche, based on the data, the backend data on Shopify and Google Analytics, we actually see that they depend around 90% on new customers. So based on that number, we actually start to look at what competitors are doing, and we found out that the competitors were really launching their Black Friday deals super early in November. So we decided to launch it as well, because you rely on new customers your competitors are doing. So we reached the customers and we started the Black Friday deals around the first week of November. So the thought process is pretty simple here. Since you rely on new customers, it's better to start off having the deal in the beginning of the month already, since Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend will be the most expensive weekend every single year to advertise. That way you beat out the crowd and you start running ads in the beginning of the month. But also people, since you rely on new customers, people that see your ads already will start to buy instead of waiting during the probably the most busiest period of the year, which is Black Friday. And then for another client who is actually in the hunting niche, there it's the complete opposite. 90% of his business relies on repurchases and returning customers. So basically we started running ads around Thursday until Tuesday the week after. That way, you know, the VIP customers get access already and you roll over to the noon week with still, you know, the Black Friday ads and the Black Friday deals, keeping performance up. Now that will bring me to my last tip, which is the VIP list and SMS and email sequences. Because if you rely on a VIP list, new customers or old customers, it's really important that you start to generate leads at the end of October, beginning of November. And how you do it is basically with a lead form on Facebook. You link it to your email software, either Klaviyo, ActiveCampaign, or other softwares. And if the lead basically signs up, their incentive is that they get early access to the products. So on Thursday, where they can buy the products before anyone else, and that they actually make sure that they can buy it while there's still stock. So it's pretty important. And the benefit of it is that you have all their contact details after Black Friday. So you can not only email and SMS them during Black Friday, but you can also still reach out to them after Black Friday. And if you use an instant form on Facebook, you can create audiences that interacted with the form, and you can retarget them or create lookalikes from them, because it's still first-party data from Meta. And like I said, we've done this for the hunting client, and we actually got amazing results. We got around leads around $1 a lead, so it's super cheap. And basically, like I said, now you have your contact details. We set up a email and SMS campaign that will launch the day before Black Friday, so on Thursday, where they get a link with the VIP access. Then we send an email on Saturday afternoon reminding them that the Black Friday deal is still going on. And then also on Monday around the morning and noon, because that way we sent them an SMS saying that the Black Friday deals will be gone in a couple of hours, adding an extra urgency level to the Black Friday deals. And basically by using the SMS and email sequences, you beat the advertising costs on Meta and Google, because they will skyrocket anyway. And since it's your data, and when you send emails and SMS, it's barely costs any money, or email campaigns don't cost you any money. So it's a free way to, you know, get into the inbox, get in contact with the clients and get more sales. And basically those are all the things that we've learned during this Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And I hope that you learned something from it as well, and that you can implement it next year to crush it again. And now, of course, if you want more help setting up your campaigns or scale your brand to 6 or 7 figures a month, then book a call with me in the link down below, and we'll be happy to help you out. And of course, thank you for tuning in. If you like this content and if you want to keep on learning more about Meta ads and Google ads, subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next one.